Every time I say fertile, my brain stops working.
You're still listening. This is our final transmission.
We're here. It's the Final Transmission podcast. It's Sam Russo and Jamie Carruthers coming at you with one horror movie a week from the dawn of time to the end of time. Jamie, my friend, how are you?
I'm great, Sam. I'm feeling good. I don't have a hangover. I didn't join a fencing club last night. I am perfectly fine. How are you?
Some of that felt vaguely accusatory. I'm great. Full of energy. Not at all hungover either. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Norfolk Fencing Club's newest member. Just having a great time over here, bud. Thanks for asking.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. It would be a real shame if you were hungover.
It would be terrible, and it would be unprofessional, which is why it's not happening.
Yeah. I hate hangovers.
I am never more miserable than when I'm hungover.
Yeah.
I am a baby about them. I always have been. I'm not very good at them, and I don't hide it.
Well, luckily, you don't have one right now, so...
Exactly. Imagine how terrible this would be if I did.
Yeah. Well, at least if you did have a hangover, we'd be at least covering a movie that you loved, right?
Jamie, you know full well that I didn't enjoy this movie, okay? So
Okay, well, let's get into it, shall we? So the movie we're covering this week, Sam,
is not the original Frankenstein.
is the 2025 Guillermo Del Toro interpretation of the classic novel Frankenstein by Mary Shelley.
Yeah.
It is made for Netflix. I think it did show in the cinema a bit, but we've talked a little bit about our relationship with Frankenstein more generally, but I thought this might be a good time to dig into that a little bit, just to apply some context to what's coming later from a very grumpy but not hungover Sam Russo.
The funny thing there is that, yes, I'm incredibly hungover, but I'm not grumpy. I'm dead chuffed.
You're grumpy about this movie.
I'm not grumpy about it. I'm fucking sick to the back teeth of hearing about it. No, I'm not. We just have a difference of opinion. Doesn't mean I'm grumpy.
So tell me about your overarching thoughts about Frankenstein more generally.
Okay. The year was 1931, and a young, bright-eyed Sam Russo was on his way to the picture house to enjoy a motion picture, a moving. Yeah. No, I saw Frankenstein when I was very young, and immediately loved it. I didn't understand it, I don't think, and yeah. I had this weird thing when I was a kid where if I saw a black and white movie, I thought it was a play. I don't know why. So
that is bonkers.
I know.
It's insane behavior.
I know. But I used to absolutely love it when I was a kid. And when I sort of started forming some sort of preference for movies and realizing that I enjoyed horror movies, I loved revisiting all the classic Universal monster movies. And I loved going back to the roots. And just, there's something wonderfully gothic and almost silly about the Karloff Frankenstein that sort of runs concurrently. Like it's simultaneously incredibly sad, I think very scary, really well put together, fantastically acted, and also just still a little bit goofy at times, which I really appreciate. But it's got some of my favorite movie lines ever are in that movie. I love dead, hate living. It's fantastic. I just think it's a phenomenal movie. I absolutely love the novel. I love rereading that. I've reread it a few times, and semi-recently, I think last year, I read it again. I don't know, man. I can't tell you how much of the aesthetic I enjoy. Everything about it ticks all my boxes as a very kind of groundbreaking piece of 30s cinema. What about you? How do you feel about it?
How do you feel about Frankenstein 31, which is what we're going to call it for the purposes of this podcast, as an adaptation of the book?
Mixed feelings. I think the book is actually quite hard to adapt into a really compelling film, in a straight adaptation sense. It obviously takes liberties. It obviously Hollywoodifies the entire story and changes the...
takes liberties by basically not being. It's an adaptation of the title, right?
Yeah, basically, yeah. Yeah. And obviously there's some interesting contextual bleed between Franken 31 and Guillermo del Frankenstein, because I guess technically it's more loyal to the original material, technically.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, don't know.
I think it takes. I mean, we'll get into Frankenstein 25 after the break, I think, but like, it takes just as many liberties, I think.
Yeah.
Or just different ones.
liberties. Yeah.
But it has a lot more stuff that I think is more faithful to the book.
Yeah. Inspired by Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Both of them do very different things. And I think the 1931 depiction of Frankenstein visually obviously came to be the definitive vision of...
Yeah, that's what a Frankenstein looks like.
Exactly. That is a Frankenstein. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ralph Wiggum. So it's hard to... I mean, I imagine it's impossible to meet Frankenstein 31 fan expectations with your remake, and it's clear that he does not give a fuck about any of that, which is interesting.
Yeah, well, I don't think this is a remake for starters.
Yeah,
I think it's
okay. You know what I mean? He's making Frankenstein, like that's been done before. I quite like some of the Hammer Frankensteins. Not many of them are very good, I don't think, but there are, there's some fun stuff in there. The novel is clearly very, very inspiring and inspires lots of different, creative sparks and
fertile.
paths. Fertile, you might say, yeah. So I for one, enjoy that someone's having another stab and another swing at it. About time. But...
I mean, the people are constantly stabbing and swinging, right? It's ongoing forever. There was recently that run at the Old Vic with Benedict Cumberbatch and Johnny Lee Miller, where they would switch roles every night, and one of them would be the monster and one of them would be Frankenstein, which I haven't seen, but it sounds fucking great.
Sounds very cool. Yeah.
I like the idea of like interpolating or whatever, like who the real monster is. Which, I mean, we'll get into that in this, but it's a little bit on the nose in here, I think. I'm the same as you. Like, I've always loved a Frankenstein. And I also am not above calling him Frankenstein. I
Nor
think
am I.
in the year 2026, with this guy, this monster, this creature, he's a Frankenstein.
Good. I'm glad we've established that. Do you know how many people just
like
press stop on this play on this podcast?
Just like all vampires are a Dracula.
Mm-hmm. Yep, absolutely. All speakers are a tannoy.
He is a Frankenstein, and I'm not above that. So I have a similar... I don't have the same amount of reverence for 31. I always was more of a Bride of...
Really?
Guy. And mostly because of the opening of Weird Science.
Yeah, that makes sense. I find Bride of a bit boring. I rewatched it recently, and I realised there's actually not much happening in that movie.
I think it's a bit more cerebral, which,
Is it really?
given your...
Lack of cerebellum.
Yeah. Given the fact that you've got this incredible dome, there's not an awful lot of cerebellum going on in there.
No, listen. That's my head.
Hollow as a cocoa nut.
Cocoa nut. Not where I thought you were going to go with that.
I love the book also. I've always been a fan. A lot of adaptations of Frankenstein basically shirk the movie, shirk the plot of the book.
Yeah.
In favor of like a more linear narrative and a more spiritual or virtual adaptation of it. Adapting the vibes rather than the book.
Yeah. It feels like a filmmaker's decision because it's hard to shoot. Historically, it's been hard to shoot a lot of the stuff that happens in the book.
Yeah. And Guillermo Del Toro, he at least made the structure of the book, sort of.
Yeah.
Why don't we do a synopsis of Frankenstein? Is that something we need to do?
Well, yeah, because this is different to what people will conventionally think of when they think of the plot of a Frankenstein, right?
Yeah, I mean, not if they've read the book.
Maybe we should skip the entire synopsis and just say man makes monster, monster makes man.
For a synopsis, I'll say this, right? I'll say, on a big ship trapped in ice, Dr. Victor Frankenstein tells his story of creating a monster to the captain. And then the monster comes along and finishes off the story.
Yes.
And the story is roughly what you would expect the story to be, but with some key changes.
Some key changes.
Weird how intonation makes that different, isn't it? All right, Sam, before we go for a break and we come back and get into spoilers for Frankenstein, don't know about that, but like, there's a lot of it's going to be like that. It's Frankenstein. What can you fucking spoil? But like, I want to know, I mean, I can see you're on the video version of this that we release on Patreon. Every episode we come up with like a little fun name, a little fun, like, subtitle thing for our names, and I can see that yours is Frankenboring. So I know that you maybe didn't love this, obviously, given that you've already said that and you laughed at the very concept of it being nominated for Best Picture.
Yep. Gave myself away there, didn't I?
So tell me overall, without sort of digging into specific details, like what did you and did you not like about Frankenstein?
I liked
2025?
the guy with syphilis and when he died, and I didn't like the rest of the film.
Interesting.
I think this is a bad film.
I mean, I disagree.
I could not decide while I was watching this where you would land, but then I remembered that you like Marvel movies, and this is Frankenstein, the Marvel movie. So I realized...
It's absolutely not.
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
Look at the state of it. It's a Marvel movie. No one's anywhere. It's all green screen. It's all bollocks.
That's not true.
Where are they then?
The big tower was a set that they built. They made a 30-foot like miniature version of the big tower that's meant to be 400 feet tall.
Yeah.
They made each floor of the big tower. The ship was real. They built that in a fucking gigantic car park.
In a car park?
Yeah.
Car park there, mate.
There is obviously some green screen in this, but like the main stuff was all there. There's a 45-minute documentary that accompanies this on Netflix that I watched, and it shows all of the IRL stuff that they had. They made all those body parts. Like, there's very little, I think, apart from the wolves, and they also used real wolves. They just made them look shitty with CGI.
What?
Don't understand that.
Oh
like,
my
don't
God.
get it.
Is that what happened with the little guy as well when he's first animating that shredded corpse?
Yeah.
That was real but made to look shit.
Yeah.
What a surprise. That, we might as well not even do the episode because that sums it up. It was real and they made it look shit. It was Frankenstein and they made it bad. That's the...
I mean, I don't think it was bad. I just think, I mean, I've got a lot of thoughts.
You said you made
like
4 pages of notes.
Correct. And that was before I did any research.
That's a sheath.
That was just thoughts and things that came to me as I was watching the movie.
That's a goddamn sheaf of papers you got there, boy. Well, you better start reading them out.
Well, why don't we take a break, Sam?
Yeah.
And we'll come back and we'll get into it properly.
Yep, let's break.
Whoa, holy shit. I guess that's why they call it Phantom Power.
I'm back. Hi, are you back?
All right. Yeah, I am.
Good. Then let's get into it. What did you like and not like about 2025's Frankenstein?
I mean, I liked quite a lot. I liked that it was differently adapted vibes from the previous adaptations. It was structurally, it was much more like the book.
Yeah.
But I mean, there was a bunch of things that I didn't like. If we're getting into spoilers immediately.
Immediately. Breakneck speed spoilers. Hit me as hard and as fast as you can.
Okay, so the first section, after like the prologue section, the first section is meant to be Victor Frankenstein telling the story of how he created the Frankenstein.
Yep.
And we see Victor Frankenstein lie about the machinations and the motivations and the acts and the things that the Frankenstein does in the movie the whole time. So if this is from his point of view, why is the Frankenstein such a swell dude?
Yep, doesn't make any sense. A huge flaw in the narrative.
Yeah, it's like we should be seeing some unreliable narrator stuff there.
Yeah, we're seeing loads of stuff that he didn't see as well. Like there's loads of stuff that happens in that first section that he would have no way of knowing happened. It's just stupid.
Only the section where he's talking about like Elizabeth and the monster. Sorry, Elizabeth and the Frankenstein. When when he's like upstairs or whatever talking to his bro.
Yeah.
But like you could take some, if you're telling that story, you might take some storytelling license there and explain that because you know what happens later.
Sure.
But like the fact that in that opening bit the monster doesn't smash up Christoph Waltz's character and doesn't do a load of horrible stuff it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest flaw in the movie for me, is that like we're supposed to be seeing the story from the point of view of its narrator, and we don't. That doesn't make sense. And then like obviously it makes more sense when it's the monster telling his part of the story, and he's like, you know, he's a nice dude hiding out in a place and becoming friends with not Gene Hackman in Young Frankenstein, and like doing all that stuff. Like that's fine. That makes sense to me because like the monster is the monster, and he's not gonna be like, yeah, I'm a bad dude.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest issue with Frankenstein 25 is that the first section, the section that's meant to be from Victor Frankenstein's point of view, doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Do you have a strong preference for the first or second part in the movie's chopped into two parts, for those who don't know? Do you have a strong preference?
My stronger of the two preferences would be the first part.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Mine's the second. We're not going to agree on anything, are we?
That's fine. I mean, another thing that I didn't like, I want to get all my dislikes out early doors because I think there's quite a lot to like here.
Yeah.
But I don't like that he's just flinging people around.
What, Frankenstein?
Yeah.
Not to confuse it.
The
Frankenstein. Sorry.
Yeah.
I fucking hate that he's an action Frankenstein. Like,
yeah,
it's so reductive and such a huge rug pull to the whole idea of the Frankenstein, to have him raging around doing fucking action man shit, kung fu moves on people, and just utterly dispiriting decision. Just so banal. Really bored by that. Really bored.
Can you? What do you think is the motivation? So before I ask you that, actually, like we know that GDT, Chat GDT is a big fan of Frankenstein as a concept, as a movie, the original, the books, like many adaptations. He mentions in this documentary that he's got an entire room in his house that's full of Frankenstein merch.
Jesus Christ. Okay.
Like he's like, what would happen if you gave me an unlimited amount of money and like a big enough house that I could store literally everything that I ever wanted in it?
Yeah.
So like he's got an entire room filled with Frankenstein merch. So this guy is a guy that presumably knows Frankenstein inside and out.
He's probably never read it. He's one of those guys. Just collects.
He's definitely read it.
But
like, he knows it inside and out. So, and he is given basically unlimited money to make this movie. So we have to assume that this is the exact movie that he wanted to make.
As close as a human being can achieve in a studio system. Yeah, he wrote and directed it, for fuck's sake. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I say, he's been wanting to make this movie for basically his entire life.
Yeah.
And he says in the documentary that he felt that he was finally ready to do it now.
Yeah.
So we have to assume, again, that this is exactly the movie that he wanted to make. Why do you think that he would choose to make the Frankenstein so action-oriented?
I think he makes the foundational decision that the Frankenstein is going to be pursuing Victor. Okay? That's a key difference between the book and this movie. In the book, Victor is pursuing the Frankenstein across the Arctic. And in order to do that, I don't think he can find a way to make a really compelling narrative out of sad, mopey, but simmeringly dangerous below the surface Frankenstein can make that journey interesting enough. So he has to turn him into a raging monster, has to turn him into the Hulk, basically. And he obviously found something in that he liked and found compelling, and then built the entire story around it, would be my best guess.
Yeah, I guess that, like, in a world, like in the original novel and in basically all adaptations and forever, it's like the idea of like seeing something that's horrendous means that you immediately want to kill it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you have to be like, okay, so why is it not dying?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
And that
The regeneration, like the zombie,
bonkers.
absolutely and completely asinine decision. Just bad. That's what I mean when I say it's a Marvel movie. It's a dumb superheroification of a gothic tale, and that is always shit, in my opinion. Always. So yeah, those few little decisions there. I honestly think it's spawned out of some bizarre need to flip the narrative. I don't know why. I don't know why you would do that if you were trying to stay loyal to the original text, to completely flip the thrust of the motivation of the two main characters and change everything that happens in their entire lives. Sure. But it leads to some cartoonish tomfoolery that I am not a fan of. That being said, maybe that sounded like a great idea. You know what I mean? Like maybe saying that out loud with 400 lines of coke between you and the producer it sounded like a great idea. Maybe he overcooked it. He's obviously been thinking about doing this his entire life. There is such a thing as fucking, over baking the pudding. I don't know, and to be honest, it depresses me to even speculate as to how you could get this so wrong. You've got such an incredible novel, a really great movie, and at least like 30 other interesting takes on Frankenstein as a concept, including, things that I have no idea about. And this is what you decide to shit out. Like Marvel costume drama nonsense, superhero bollocks. Bad.
Like, I think besides the action stuff, and even some of the action stuff I think is okay and kind of makes some sense. And that's why I think the first half or the first section is the better section, because the making the monster stuff is much more interesting to me than the monster lolloping around. The Frankenstein lolloping around. And I mean, I also liked the spirit of the forest stuff. That section, that bit was pretty good.
That was the bit that I enjoyed in the movie, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
That felt like the book. I know it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, something similar happens in the book, but it felt closest to the narrative, and it felt the closest to character development and explanation of motives and explanations of behavior. But it was also a bit silly. It still felt a bit silly.
I mean, that the thing that happened in the book is also a bit silly. Like, true. I think that like the stuff in the original and in the book, and it's much more like the innocence of children is the thing that can break through the scariness of Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Is I think much more interesting and not exploiting this at all. No,
not at all. There's barely. Well, there isn't an interaction between the Frankenstein and a child, is there? I don't think there is. No. We don't even get Karloff just lobbing a kid in a river. Really fun. It also had all the fun sucked out of it for me, is another really important thing. The blind man character in the cabin, I thought was the best character in the movie. I really enjoyed him on screen. I liked all of his dialogue. I thought he was really, really well written. And I thought he was a real opportunity to pursue a slightly different tone for a section of the film. And that's really how I felt that played out. But there's... I don't know how deliberate the sense of fun in the 1931 Frankenstein is necessarily. I know some of the humor is obviously, very black humor, but obviously very deliberate. Just switch the brains, that all that kind of stuff's great. But there's no even vague attempt at anything even light-hearted in this movie. It's too ostentatious, it's too stiff, it's too pretentious, and painfully slow, and just... unfortunately, to me, to my very naive, hollow-headed temperament, boring as sin. I just thought it was so dull. I don't know where the time went. 2.5 hours I was watching this movie, and a couple of times we paused it. I was like, fuck me, I can't believe 20 minutes has passed since the last thing happened, and that felt like a glacial age. It was just like fucking fully pulling your fingernails out slow.
I mean, I didn't find it slow like that. I did think that it I was never really fully invested. Right. But, like, it felt like about 2.5 hours to me.
Too long. It's an hour
long. It's probably 45 minutes too long. I think for a film like this sort of scale, you could get away with an hour 50.
The 1931 Frankenstein is 1 hour and 10. and even that feels
Yeah.
a bit long.
Sure, but like that's a different movie to this.
Yeah.
I mean, let's get into the cast. We've not mentioned any of the cast yet, really, apart from Christoph Waltz. So we've got Oscar Isaac as Victor Frankenstein. I think that he's low-key too good-looking to be Victor Frankenstein, but he's shot in a way that makes him look really fucking ugly. He's always shot like basically like fisheye lens, so his nose looks gigantic, and his chin is always like maniacally jutting out. We've got Jacob Elordi as the creature, the Frankenstein, and I don't really understand his performance, really. I don't understand his casting. He's not this character for me. Obviously, they make him look like the Bernie Wrightson like 80s version of Frankenstein. I think I read that Guillermo Del Toro like bought the rights to that adaptation comic book in order to like use that likeness, but doesn't adapt the Bernie Wrightson adaptation of Frankenstein, but just uses some of that visual to inform the visual of his Frankenstein.
Did he have to buy that to do that?
But I don't know if you have to, but like I think that they're mates, and was like, if he's like, I'm gonna nick your thing, I'll pay for it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the cast, really, isn't it? You get
well, no, because there's Christoph Waltz, there's Mia Goth, there's Charles Dance, who we love, there's David Bradley as the blind man.
Great.
You've got Mads Mikkelsen's brother as the sea captain.
Oh, is that his brother?
That's
nice.
Yeah, that's the cast, right?
Yeah.
Christoph Waltz, I think I'm over Christoph Waltz.
I never got into him in the first place.
He was great in Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah, that's the
And
role
then-
that sort of made him, right? Because he was a sort of nobody for forever, and then that launched him, is what I read.
Yeah. And then, like, basically, it turns out that he's a character actor with one speed.
Yeah, I didn't really get him in this either. I like the idea of the character. Love a syphilitic old warmonger. I thought that was really going to lead somewhere. It just could have been a
we
much
should leave
smaller
Claire out
role.
of this.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been a much smaller role, I think. It used up a lot of screen time, and there's a lot of unnecessary bollocks with him that just bored me to tears. But yeah, I again, strange. I think this was cast so incredibly strangely. Like, I completely agree with you that it feels very unintuitively cast.
Again, like, assuming this is exactly the cast that Guillermo del Toro wanted, which we know it's not, because I'm pretty sure that his mate not Doug Bradley, that's Pinhead, Doug Jones was meant to be the creature. No, in fact, Doug Jones was originally meant to be the creature in his head, and then Andrew Garfield was cast and had to drop out at the last minute, which would be even worse, frankly.
Andrew Garfield? What is this guy fucking doing? My first choice for Frankenstein was Andrew Garfield. No, you're not allowed this. Someone should have taken it away. Someone should have taken the gun out of the toddler's hands. That's what should have happened here.
So my thinking is here that like Netflix are like, look, you can make it, but you have to cast big popular film actors.
Right.
That are popular now. You can't.
Like David Bradley.
Well, okay, David Bradley plays the blind man. He is what, 8th, 9th, 10th build?
Yeah.
Like, I think once you get past the first 6.
Oscar Isaac is obvious. I think you can cast him in basically anything right now. And nowadays you can get away with casting anyone as Baron Dr. Victor Frankenstein, it turns out.
Yeah.
Including a guy who's done what, mostly like pretty big actiony Marvel type movies. Wasn't he like Han Solo or something?
He was sort of like Han Solo in the new Star Wars movies, but
right,
he wasn't. He wasn't Han Solo. He was
Right.
a different character. But he's also done loads of like intimate, like indie drama stuff.
Yeah.
Like he's a guy that spans worlds.
Spanning time together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is a lot of Harlander in that first section, Christoph Waltz's character, and I don't really. Did someone somewhere be like, okay, but how is he funding this?
You answer that in 12 seconds of screen time. Like, I like the war connection. That was very interesting to me. The idea that he's going to just give him access to battlefields of exploded bodies. I thought that was cool, but you can do it quicker. Like, I just don't know why we had to labor with this character so long. And it felt like a relationship that was really going to go somewhere, and it doesn't.
No. And it would make more sense if the unreliable narrator stuff was there and Frankenstein kills him. The Frankenstein kills him.
Yeah, Frankenstein, the Frankenstein, doesn't kill Mia Goth, doesn't kill Uncle Syphilis, doesn't kill anyone he's supposed to kill or anyone that he kills in the book even.
No.
Why?
He doesn't even
Guillermo?
kill the brother or anything. It's, yeah.
Yeah, very strange. Very strange. I thought Mia Goth in this was absolutely top shelf. Like, probably, I mean, for me, because I don't love all of her performances as much as you do, this is, I think, some of the best I've seen her do. I really enjoyed her.
I mean, I like Mia Goth fine. I feel like there's no contractual reason that she needs to be in every single horror movie ever.
True.
And she also gets to play two characters in every single movie that she's in. Like, I don't think that's necessary.
Yeah. She seems to be having a lot of fun with it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, this is a horror of a different texture to what we've seen from her in the past. And maybe she was getting a little bit pigeonholed in some of that stuff. I don't know. But I just really think that she really kind of tied it on and was very, very convincing in that role. Again, such a fucking weirdly written role. Like, what is going on with her?
I don't understand how she walks into the Frankenstein dungeon and it's like, oh, you're a Frankenstein. I'm immediately in love with you.
Yeah, what? I don't even believe that she was just allowed to do that in the first place. Like, that was piss weak. Like, come on, you, let's go and leave her to her own devices in this dungeon with this Frankenstein. What are we doing? Cack. But the whole, like, does she fall in love with him? Are we supposed to really think that's what's happening here?
Yeah.
What the fuck, dude? Come on.
Because, like, when he comes back later, she's like,
Oh my God, you're alive. I love you.
yeah.
Bang. So dumb. Stupid bullshit. I thought it was interesting when she was falling in love with Victor. A good level of tension there, and he's exploiting his brother horribly. And we got to see some of that relationship dynamic from the childhood stuff. That all felt fairly novelistic, if you will.
Do you think it's creepy that she also plays his mum?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Yes. I find it creepy that she plays his mum. I find it creepy that she falls in love with every man in the movie. I find it creepy and strange that she dies the way she dies. I don't get the waste. Again, just the waste. She's giving such a good performance. Why are you writing such crap for her?
It would be so much better, I think, if we saw the movie twice. We like Rashomon the movie, right?
Right.
With like, this is the entire story that I'm telling, Victor Frankenstein, and it's about how this monster that I made went on a fucking mad rampage and killed Harlander, and I had to burn down this fucking
Beautiful
massive
tower.
castle
Yeah.
to try and kill it. And I thought I got it, but then it came back the day of my brother's wedding and smashed up my brother and smashed up his bride and fought its way out.
Yeah.
And now we're here. And so when the monster comes and everyone's fighting it and everyone's flying around and he's knocking people's heads off, that's pretty cool when he literally decapitates someone, but whatever.
That's literally always cool.
Yeah. And then he walks in and he's like, oh, you heard his story, now it's time for you to hear mine.
Yeah.
And he retells the entire story from his point of view.
Jerry Springer style.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, I didn't do all this killing.
Yeah.
And like, as the boat captain, you have to decide.
You have to decide. You're the boat captain. You can do that.
Yeah. The boat captain decides who tells the truth.
And then then there's a lynching. Yeah.
Tale as old as time.
Exactly. What you're doing there, Jamie, is describing the right way it should have been made, and it's fucking obvious. Yeah. Like, you've got a two-part movie. You've got two different perspectives. Why the fuck are you dumbing this down?
Yeah. Also, like, I don't know if that is the right movie. It's just the right version of this movie.
It is the right movie because it's coherent, it's entertaining, it's very interesting from a narrative point of view to see through the monster's eyes, through the Frankenstein's eyes. It's probably fucking easier. Like, how is this such a fumble? It blows my actual tits off.
Yeah, so it made me think that, like, if I was a person that didn't know the source material, it would have made me think that this sort of framing device of the ship was like a last-minute addition. That they were like, oh, we need a reason for... Oh, it's actually 45 minutes before the Frankenstein does any carnage.
Yeah.
So we need to introduce some carnage immediately. So let's go back and we'll have an action scene at the beginning, and then it'll be someone telling the story of everything that's happened before it.
Yeah.
But like, obviously that's not the case, because that would be a really, really expensive reshoot to create this whole fucking boat. And also that framing device sort of is in the book.
Yeah.
So again, this is what they meant to do. This is the choice that they made.
That's what baffles me. And I mean, aside from the structural problems, the writing being, in my opinion, not very good, aside from the plot and a lot of the acting, I also just think it looks like complete shit. I just hate how this film looks. There's maybe 2 scenes that really leapt out at me as feeling like a Frankenstein movie, and the rest of it, I just wanted to puke the entire time.
I mean, I think it looks pretty good. I mean, like, I think the CGI is stylized in such a way, and I think it's stylized on purpose, but it's bad.
Yeah.
Like the talking corpse, catch the apple, little fella.
Atrocious.
Guillermo Del Toro isn't interested in things looking real.
Agreed.
I think he's more interested in things looking fantastical.
Yeah, which is why I just think it's all vile.
But I think that, like, what he actually does here isn't fantastical. It's much more weird and gribbly in a way that sort of looks like a Muppet. Like a Muppet would have been better.
A Muppet would have been 1,000 times. That is such a golden opportunity for a genuinely award-winning practical effect. And instead we get fucking PlayStation 1 graphics. It was so turd. I laughed every single time it moved. And that scene is also ridiculous. How the fuck are we as an audience supposed to buy that he does that in front of a bunch of people and they're like, nah. Nah, you can't do that. Get out. Like,
well, I think
you brought a human being back to life and he's fully interacting with you on a biological level, performing human actions in front of a room full of people, and every single one of them's, nah, get out, you're an idiot. Like, God, it's just so dumb.
I think, like, the point is that, like, 50% of people think that it's like a trick, and the other 50% think it's an affront to God.
Sure.
Which, like, you know, that's completely fair. The idea of that is, why would it take you so long to bring a person back to life?
If you already did.
Yeah, you've done it.
It also goes into such absurd detail without telling you anything. She says symmetry, he moves one thing, and all of a sudden he's created an immortal monster. Like, what? What the fuck? Why give me so much and tell me so little? I think maybe I'm getting to an age where this kind of filmmaking just insults me. Like, I feel like this is dumb. All of it is so painfully dumb. And you can't make Frankenstein any dumber. Like, the 1931 movie is already the dumbest it can get. Like, don't make it dumber by making it look prettier. Oh, it's just all the things I don't like.
But I think it's gorgeous when it's like I think the set work is amazing. Those sets look incredible. All of the sets. The lab I thought was great.
Oh, I hated it.
Really?
God, it just looks so fake and shit. Like, all the weird, like, I don't even know what to call it. Like brassy gold, green, red palette. Just, grisly, horrible on the eyes. Way too busy. No fucking style. Just trash. Just like.
I mean, I thought it was busy
gaudy.
because for the reasons. Like, it was busy because his brain is busy. Like, it's meant to feel like a lived-in lab rather than like a Steve Martin's apartment in The Man with Two Brains. So, like,
way you prefer. The moments where the movie gets a gothic aesthetic really, really spot on are some of the most exciting and interesting visual aspects of the movie, because we're seeing the gothic sensibility of the 31 movie in crazy HD. You know, when he goes back to the lab and he's sifting through the debris and he's holding up the transparent of his own face in front of his own. That is some wonderful gothic imagery. There's a moment in the lab where it goes dark and the coils are glowing green and there's less, light just bouncing off everything and making it look like some sort of weird Victorian whorehouse. And it genuinely looks really cool. We start to get a spooky atmosphere for the first time in the entire film. It's gone in about 3 seconds and it's back to vaudeville or whatever the fuck this aesthetic's supposed to be. And I just found it completely visually overwhelming from the very start. Just too much metallic, too much saturated bullshit color, and none of it felt purposeful. If you're saying it's busy because it's his busy mind, it aesthetically doesn't give me a sense of a busy mind. It gives me a sense of an overblown piece of set dressing. It doesn't feel like a part of a movie. It just feels like it's trying way too hard and just exploding all over the place. The Medusa was cool. Is it Medusa? Must have been.
It is Medusa,
yeah.
I disagree. I think that, like, because, like, not every set is like that.
Yeah.
And, like, when he's creating the Frankenstein, that's when his mind is the busiest. So it makes sense for me there. And, like, when we get out into the wider world, things become much less busy.
Again, it's an experience that I just don't find pleasant at all, just being battered with all this saturated colour and metal, and it's gross.
Yeah.
It's a place I don't like to be. The gothic funeral scene, brilliant. Cool coffins, very gothic, very original, very fun.
Yeah, so that sort of reminded me of Francis Ford Coppola's, like, Dracula movie.
Right.
Just, like, the weird sort of retro futurist aesthetic of, like, this is what...
Steampunk.
Yeah, almost that steampunk sort of thing.
I hate it.
I hate steampunk as a concept, but I like things that can be inspired by it, because obviously steampunk is inspired by that sort of retro futurist approach to, and I like a retro futurist thing. Like, I love the Fallout games, and I don't think anyone would describe those as steampunk.
Doom,
but, like,
Doom, medieval Dark Ages or whatever it is, that's retro futurist, right? Because it's spaceships in the medieval world. Yeah.
I mean, you said Marvel. The movie that I thought of instantly when I started watching this was Guy Ritchie's Sherlock Holmes adaptation.
Interesting. Because,
like, they're reimagining Sherlock Holmes as a brawler, and, like, which is, you know, weird. It's Robert Downey Jr. and he's got the Robert Downey Jr. voice, and he could only really also play one character.
And he's supposed to be really funny, like,
yeah. That was my first thought with this when we start seeing sort of action Frank. And the aesthetic of that, I mean, because obviously Guy Ritchie and Guillermo Del Toro are very different filmmakers, but they both are very stylistic in the way that they make movies, and they have a very individual style. Obviously, we know that Guillermo Del Toro is obsessed with the humanity and the loneliness and the tragedy of the monster, which obviously we've always seen throughout many adaptations of Frankenstein and the source material.
Yeah. And in lots of sort of subtly different ways.
Yeah. But, like, I think the read here of, like, the savage monster, the Frankenstein, is, you know, the tragic figure, and that Dr. Frankenstein is the monster, is just so on the nose.
It's even in a line of dialogue. And this is the saddest thing for me about this film. That was my favourite bit of the film.
Yeah.
That line.
It really just nails on all of those things. And I think, like, how do you feel generally about, like, the way that Guillermo del Toro approaches the sort of sad loneliness of the tragedy of monsters?
The same way I feel about the whole movie. Confused.
Yeah. How did you feel about the Shape of Water?
Confused. I actually enjoyed it.
Sexually confused.
Yeah, no, I did enjoy that, but I didn't. I don't know. There was a sadness and a melancholy to the whole film that I found quite compelling, and there's a love story there that I actually bought into, despite the CGI, despite everything, the whole look. And it's a movie experience that I look back on fondly. So I can't say I loved it. I'll never watch it again. But I did actually enjoy the experience of watching it. And I think because it was tonally consistent from start to finish, it had a message and a point, and it stuck with it. This is all over the map. And I want to understand my Frankenstein immediately. I don't need a complex web to crawl my way out of with the character of Frankenstein. We get it. He was brought into this world against his will, made out of dead body parts. He's fucking lonely. He's bummed.
Yeah.
We get it. What is going on with this guy?
Do you think that, like, because The Shape of Water is loosely based on the Gillman, but not a remake of Black Lagoon, and also Black Lagoon isn't really based on, like, anything that preceded it beyond, like, loose legends or whatever?
Yeah.
That was original Universal Horror IP. Do you think that, like, because that was, like, based on a vague concept and not based on an actual bit of content, not based on a novel that was adapted by Universal and by hundreds of other people over the years, is that the defining difference there? Is that we can accept Guillermo doing his tragic monster thing on Gillman, because Gillman also, I mean, we talked about this in our Creature from the Black Lagoon episode, like there is a tragedy to the Gillman in that movie, but he wants to fuck shit up. He's not a lumbering figure that just wants to be loved. If he grabs any of those women, they're not going to have a very nice time.
No. I don't even understand the read of Creature from the Black Lagoon that he's a romantic character. He's a fucking crazy lizard guy living in a swamp. He just wants to fucking rip. Like, I don't get it. And the reason, to answer your question, the two are not related, in my opinion. Like, you could sit me down and I'll watch Creature from the Black Lagoon for the first time ever and immediately watch The Shape of Water, and I won't tell you that I think they're the same. Like, they feel nothing. There's no connective tissue there for me. If you didn't tell me, the filmmaker was inspired by Creature from the Black Lagoon, I wouldn't fucking know. So
I mean, there's a very clear connective tissue in that they both have a Gillman.
Yeah, but they're so different. They're so completely different. It's not your granddad's Gillman. I find it interesting in this. There's no focus whatsoever on the brain of the monster. There's no mention of where the brain is always a crucial factor in the creation of a Frankenstein, right? Where the brain.
I sort of thought that the brain wasn't going to work, and they're going to have to use
the syphilitic smashed up,
syphilitic bean, but like he didn't. So that does render that whole arc fairly moot.
Yep, absolutely moot as fuck, and not rewarding at all. Just a shitty end to what could have been, a pretty. I don't know if it would have been good to put a syphilitic murder brain in your Frankenstein, see what happens. But
I mean, imagine like a 6 foot odd tall gangly fuck with a syphilitic brain. Like, who could think of anything worse than that, Sam?
It's great. But the thing that hurts is the movie takes away everything you love about your Frankenstein. The intrigue of the brain, the excitement around the brain, the heart, like everything, all of that substituted with this over stylized, slow stitching together of a billion body parts from a battlefield. I guess there's something interesting happening there. It's war dead. There's a war thing happening, and everyone has lots to say about it. But fuck me, dude. Just I don't know. I find it so hard to see Frankenstein through Guillermo Del Toro's eyes if this is what he thinks it should be. If he read that book and was like, I got it, and this is what he pictures when he reads the book, like, fucking hell.
Well, do you want to hear something interesting?
Yes, always. That's why I'm here.
So, what if I told you that Guillermo Del Toro's approach to this, what this movie is about for him, and less so the source material, but he does think that it's about that, is generational trauma.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. He has to say that. He wants to win an Oscar. He wants to be relevant.
So in this documentary, he says, if I made Frankenstein originally when I wanted to, it would have been a conversation between me and my father.
Right.
And now, because I'm making it now, it's a conversation between me and my father and me and my sons.
That's fine.
I get it. And like there is obviously a father and son dynamic in the source material. I mean, I'm saying all this. I liked the film quite a lot. I didn't love all the smashing, and I liked it when it was appropriate. I like when the whole Gellert story happens and he comes back and he's like has to fight off all those wolves, and then the matey boys come back and he has to like rip their jaws off or whatever for whatever reason. Like I felt that was appropriate.
Yes, Frankenstein's back and he has to rip their jaws off.
Like,
didn't think that was good either. By the way, you don't get to see the gore. Whenever you rip off a jaw, there's a tongue going. You didn't get to see it.
You see the tongue?
Oh, I didn't see it.
I feel like your TV isn't bright enough. We discussed this before, but
maybe.
But you definitely see the lolling tongue.
I hear everything you're saying, and I understand completely where you're coming from. I think if this film ticks your boxes aesthetically, that's half the battle for me, because I just can't get past the look of it, the disgusting slickness, nauseating color. Like,
there is a hint of League of Extraordinary Gentlemen in the way that this movie looks.
I put all those movies in the same place in my mind. Yeah, all of it.
That's a bad movie. It's not even trying to be a good movie. It's just trying to be a big, stupid movie.
Yeah, it's trying to be fucking stupid, and it's trying to have fun with it.
You're right. I don't think Guillermo is trying to have fun here. I think maybe he's trying to serve too many masters in terms of like the action stuff and the romance stuff and the tragic loneliness of the monsters stuff and the, you know, all that other stuff. Like, I feel like, assuming this is the exact movie that he wanted to make, then that all feels insane. I think the reality is much more, okay, this is the movie that I want to make. And Netflix is like, okay, yeah, but we need to cast famous people.
Right.
We can't have your mate Doug Jones as the monster, despite the fact that he's always your monsters in everything.
Yeah.
So that's off the table. Get Andrew Garfield to be your monster. Interesting casting. I don't understand it. Like, he's a good actor, so
Is
sure.
the only thing they wanted like a sort of aquiline, semi-chiseled face? Because I think the face of your Frankenstein is genuinely really important because it's where all the pathos comes from. There's not...
Yeah.
I mean, he has a lot of lines in this, traditionally, not so much of a thing. Garfield and this fucking putz have a similar kind of face in a way. This guy looks like Prometheus, you know, in the Alien movies, the Prometheus guy.
I wrote that in my notes. It's pretty ironic, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just such a bad look.
Yeah. Also, I know that we're calling this guy the Frankenstein, but the alien in Prometheus isn't called the Prometheus. I just want to get that out there now.
What's he called?
I draw the line at that.
I know he's not called the Prometheus, but what is he called?
He's called fucking William Evans. I don't know.
Big white alien. Yeah.
But like, that's what the Frankenstein looks like in the Bernie Wrightson comic adaptation from the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I love that. I mean, he has that burnt face, which I was really missing in this. He also doesn't have like a nose. And I guess, did they not want to do that because of the ghoul in Fortnite? They didn't want it to be too similar to the ghoul in Fortnite, maybe?
he would look exactly like that without a nose, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. A noseless protagonist is always a rough hang. I think it's kind of tricky.
Especially when Guillermo Del Toro, also, like we say, isn't interested in things looking super real. So like it would
the
look...
angel in his dreams. Fucking hell, that was awful.
Yeah, that looks like AI. I sort of thought that like I had motion smoothing on my TV. That's how bad it looked.
Yeah.
And I've constantly ride that motion smoothing to make sure it's never on.
I'm sort of astonished at your take on the stuff on the ship. I get that the ship kind of has to be real. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't see how you can CG an entire ship environment and have it look even remotely engaging on like a human eyeball level. But I don't know how you make a ship look so bad. It just looks so fake. There's something to the quality of this finish or whatever, like the post, I don't know what you'd call it, that makes everything, maybe deliberately, like you said, just look inaccessibly unreal. Just completely fake.
It's meant to look fake, but maybe not in the way that it's meant to look like a big set. It's meant to look like a big thing that isn't real. It's meant to look like a classic artifice of like an old Hollywood. But I think what you're seeing is like, it looks like CG garbage.
Yeah, for the most part.
But like they made that ship. They built it in a big car park in fucking Aberdeen. It looks really tactile to me, but in a way that like I'm never going to be like, that's a real place that exists and I'd like to go there.
No,
it's not the traitor's castle. It's like a building from an imagination, and I think that that's interesting to me, and I like the artifice of it. But I don't ever think it looks like. I didn't think it looked like CG before I watched it, or while I was watching it, and then I watched the documentary and was like, cool, they made these.
I didn't do an enormous amount of research, I'll be honest with you, Jamie, because I don't like researching things I don't like. But I read a bit about... The Medusa seemed really significant to me. The placement of it. Because what was it? It was an old arms factory or something. They don't have a fucking Medusa in there. So at some point someone's put that there.
Before you make your point here, what's the practical use of the hole in the floor? Apart from somebody falling through it and dying.
I said, when that hole popped up, I said to Claire, people are falling down that immediately. Someone significant is going to fall down that and die.
Yeah. It's so funny that in the documentary they had cones around it.
Really?
And like, it probably wasn't built that high, but like someone was still going to fall down it.
Yeah.
But like,
there is nothing in the world more dangerous than that hole. Like a tiled, sloped, graded floor that goes into a hole. It's going to suck you in.
If you don't know the answer to that, I want to open this out to anyone that's listening. Can you get in touch with me via our Instagram at FT Horror Show and tell me what the practical use of that hole is?
Well, you'd understand it in like an abattoir style setting or somewhere with loads of water slopping around or whatever. But I don't understand this munitions factory at all. Why is it so tall? Like, you know what we need on this munitions factory? 75 small floors. Like, I sort
of read it as like it was a pre-existing building that turned into a munitions factory that is no longer working as a munitions factory. But like, also if there was a lot of liquid lolling around, you wouldn't necessarily want the hole going down the middle of the building.
Of the entire building, yeah. It's funny. Like, it's obviously just stupid. We need a hole.
I think it looks cool.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's a very cool thing to have. Yeah.
It sort of reminded me of my my Ghostbusters toy that I had when I was a kid, and you'd pour the slime in the top, and the slime would drip through all the levels.
Oh, nice. That's an elite toy, Jamie.
Yeah, I think I bought it from a car boot sale. I didn't get it new. I think it was like a very second-handy purchase. Sorry, but you were making a point about the Medusa. Go back to that.
It's not a huge point. I just thought it might lend some credence to the sort of mythological thinking of Guillermo Del Toro. Obviously, like, we know he loves that shit, but it struck me because it was so huge, and I thought that's not just there because it looks cool. There's got to be something going on there. So I did a bit of reading about it, and classic interpretations of the tales of the Medusa have it being, a cautionary tale against vanity, right? And there's an element of that with Frankenstein, obviously, playing God, etc. Apparently, there's a more modern reading of the whole Medusa myth that's way more about victim blaming and way more about innocence and the loss of innocence. And I think that Medusa has enormous significance to the spirit of this movie. I think that's Del Toro saying, look, I Medusa'd it. Because it's just such a massive statement piece, isn't it? It's in the lab. Yeah. It's where a lot of the key action happens, and it's not tucked off in the corner. So do you think there might be something there?
Yeah, I definitely think that the vanity and the hubris go hand in hand there. I think that you're right. It's so big and it's so present in all of those shots that, like, it's impossible for it to be an accident. And it's not just there because it looks cool. It could be any sort of gargoyle or whatever.
Yeah.
Although, why would you have a gargoyle inside? Also, why would you have a big fucking Medusa head in your factory? But like,
I did think for a hot minute that because there was no real indication that Frankenstein Victor was going to build the woman Frankenstein that he builds in the book, I thought maybe the presence of the Medusa was hinting that something female was coming, but it didn't.
Yeah.
So.
I also sort of thought that the Frankenstein was so smart he could have made his own woman. He found the book that explained how to make a person.
How much time elapses between Frankenstein being monosyllabic and Neanderthal in a basement and being a very erudite, independent, wandering Frankenstein? How long is Victor running from him, basically?
I don't know about the full scale of the movie, but the Spirit of the Forest stuff happens over the course of a year, I would say, right?
Yeah, and because that's when he learns to read and speak.
Or maybe not quite a year. He gets there at a time. He's there for a while where he learns like a bunch of words and can speak by the time he comes out of his hiding place and begins hanging out with the old man.
Yeah.
And then he's there over winter until the guys come back.
And then he sets off for the Arctic.
And he has to get to the Arctic from wherever they are. Where are they?
France? Middle England? Who knows?
So the opening is Vienna, right?
Yeah.
So they're somewhere in mainland Europe, let's say. Probably quite a distance to get to the Arctic, especially if every single time somebody sees you, you have to smash their heads in with your fists because they're so scared of you.
Yeah. I cannot even tell you how dumb, again, I think it is, that he holds a stick of dynamite, which explodes, and he is fucking unscathed. I can't imagine why you'd put that in the film.
It's such a weird choice to have him regenerate, but again, I feel like you're right. He overcooked the pudding. They had
To
a
have
conversation.
dynamite not blow him up is nothing. Like, he becomes invulnerable. Like, dynamite would blow up the T-1000 and it would goo its way back together. Do you know what I mean? Like, he doesn't blow up when dynamite explodes in his hand. What are you trying to tell me?
Yeah, like, if there was a period of time where we have to watch him regenerate, then fair dues. But like, I mean, they do hint at that because there's at one point all the skin and muscle and stuff is missing from his hands, and then it sort of grows back. But not over a period of very long.
No, but he gets shot and all the skin blasts off his hand. Why doesn't a stick of dynamite blow him to smithereens?
Yeah, well, that's what I mean.
I suspend my disbelief, sure, but my question is, why put that in the film? Why need to raise that question? Like,
I mean, I agree. I think that, like, what if we assume that somehow his skeleton or his limbic system or whatever is completely indestructible because of whatever happened.
Yeah.
Then
because of lightning.
Yeah, well, because of the specific place of stabbing the things or whatever.
Yeah.
Symmetry, you know? If we assume that that is completely indestructible because of what they did and the great idea that Elizabeth had, then the dynamite should basically blow him back to his limbic system.
Yeah. And then he should regenerate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Over, I would say, to regenerate an entire everything, skeleton, muscle, skin,
Couple
organs,
of days.
I would say a year.
I don't know, because his entire hand grows back in about 40 minutes.
Well, yeah, but I think that that's stupid too. I think
Same
that,
here.
like, I think there should be some real stakes.
Yeah. He should not want to get blown up.
Yeah.
Because it's going to take him fucking ages to crawl his hand over to his thigh and drag that over to his neck and start putting it all together.
I like the idea of, like, his skin is irrelevant, his flesh is irrelevant, and he is a limbic system with a heart and a brain or whatever.
Yeah. I didn't fully understand if he could fully feel pain for quite a while either. I know that obviously at the end he can. Shit seems to be hurting him when he gets shot out in the woods. But that was unclear to begin with. His capacity for reasoning and love and everything was very muddy.
Yeah, and these guys shoot him and they're like, oh, he's shot. Let's go back inside for a week.
Yeah. So yeah.
Let's not check if he's dead. I know we shot him before and he was fine, but
Yeah.
we shot him this time and he's fallen over, so he must be dead.
Must be dead. Let's just leave him exactly where he fell.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, nothing about this film made sense or was fun. So I think if you're gonna have fun, you don't have to make sense. And if you're gonna make sense, I just can't piece together why you would make this movie. It's such an affront to the source material. If 16-year-old Mary Shelley could see what happened to her book, she'd be sick on her own legs.
I mean, she'd have been sick on her own legs 500 times by now, though, right? There's been so many bad adaptations of Frankenstein and, like, bad, loose, not called Frankenstein adaptations of Frankenstein. Think about all of, like, the high school Frankenstein movies.
Yeah.
I watched that movie a couple of months ago where it's like a Encino Man, but with Frankenstein. They make a Frankenstein and then bring him to school and he's the life of the party.
It's fucking awesome.
I think there's a lot of bad Frankenstein adaptations out there. And I think that, like, this has some interesting stuff to say. And the stuff that it gets really wrong for me. Like, I didn't think it was boring. I didn't think it was an affront. I didn't think it looked bad. I just really hated the taking of practical things and making them look bad. They used real wolves. There were real wolves on set in those scenes, like, literally ripping at people's clothes in the behind the scenes footage. Like, why? How can you? I mean, obviously you don't want Jacob Elordi to really smash the head off a wolf, but, like, there's a way to do that and not make it look like fucking Dog Soldiers looked better.
Yeah,
like,
and I thought those wolves looked like good video game wolves. You telling me that they took real wolves and felt the need to somehow improve upon them for a movie-going audience. If there's an irony richer than that in a movie with a giant Medusa head in the middle of the fucking laboratory, I have never heard of anything so ridiculous in my life. You should go in the bin for that. You shouldn't be allowed to make films anymore if you CGI over a real wolf. Like, what fucking possible explanation could you have? Best Picture.
Come on, man, does that thing even work? No, there's nothing out there. It's just dead air.
I have to assume that there are voices in his ear being like, look, if you want this Netflix money, you need to make this action this.
Because like, or there's maybe like a technical reason that because everything else looks so fucking shit, your wolf looks too real. It looks out of place. You can't have a real wolf, mate. You're gonna have to animate it because everything else looks like fake garbage. It's standing out too much. They do it with the people. They smooth everyone's fucking everything off, don't they?
Make animatronics. Intersperse real wolf with animatronic wolf. That's what a good movie would do. That's what a movie from 1996 would do. Yeah. That we would still be talking about in 2026 because it has an inherent value. I think that like The Bride, the new Bride of Frankenstein movie that Maggie Gyllenhaal directed, like I think that's going to be very divisive. I think you would fucking hate it. But I think that people will still be talking about that in 20, 30 years because generations will find it and it will be... Do you know like how Reaper Man is my favorite movie? And there are probably 1 million people out there that have seen it and were like, that's horseshit.
It's unwatchable.
Why has she got fucking tinfoil in her hand instead of a robot hand? Like...
Yeah.
But like it spoke to me on like a cellular level and the story of like the disaffectedness of youth and how like everything is performative and everything is insane and nothing is real and everything is too real and all of that. Like there are people that will watch The Bride for generations when they're exactly the right age and they'll see all of that stuff in The Bride, and like as many people will see it and think, what a fucking load of garbage. They might insert the word woke in there if they feel that's their personality. If they're the sort of personality type that would say something is bad because it's woke or whatever. But like, I still think people will be talking about The Bride. I think that this movie doesn't really stand the test of time.
Do you know what was, in a movie that's supposed to be about generational trauma and is supposed to be embracing like some slightly more progressive ideals around the mythos of various things, not just the Frankenstein, but everything else. Why the fuck is there a Lord Byron quote at the end of this film and not a Mary Shelley quote? That is disgusting to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's a weird choice. I also think that, like, for all of our talk of it getting the Frankenstein wrong, I think the thing that it gets more egregiously wrong is the Victor Frankenstein.
Absolutely. This guy is...
I quite like the sort of gibbering loon Dr. Frankenstein. And like it makes, and I also quite like the super selfish. Every time something goes wrong, the Frankenstein did it. Like he created a little brother to blame. Yeah. Every time something goes wrong, and like I quite like that. But it's the ending when he's like, do you know what? I was wrong about you, buddy. You're okay in my book.
The West's
son.
Ending. Yeah. What is that ending? All this questing across the Arctic to find him, and then they have a little chat and fall asleep. Fuck off. Also, his whole character is I mean, I keep saying wrong, but it is just wrong. There's nothing. Who the fuck is supposed to like this guy? He's like we're supposed to sympathize with our central tension with the story of Frankenstein is sympathizing with everyone too much. Like it's a fucking tale of empathy, right? We're supposed to be pulled so deep into these flawed characters that we're lost as to who we align with him. We don't even know who we are by the end. He's just a brat. He's just a dick. And I get that he has to be rich, there has to be money somewhere, and he has to have this trauma, and it all has to play out basically in the way that it does. But he's so unlikable and so boring to be around that I just feel nothing for the guy. Nothing whatsoever. And that pushes me towards the Frankenstein, whomst I also think sucks. So this whole movie, I'm just waiting for someone to show up I can hang my fucking coat on, and nobody shows up. Mia Goth briefly. But then she becomes a swooning, love interest of she's lusting after Frankenstein, of course. That What?
Yeah.
No, it's got nothing. No substance.
Like I say, I all of this, and I still kind of liked it. Like I still enjoyed watching it. I really.
That makes
There
me
was
very
some
glad.
there were some aesthetic issues, and obviously some story issues, and some narrative issues, and some
Some issues
yeah, there were some issues
with the film.
Me and this film have some issues.
Generational trauma.
But I enjoyed watching it. I thought it was quite beautiful sometimes, and I probably won't watch it again. I really put off watching it. There was something about it that was like pushing me away. To the point where I basically programmed it for us, so I would just have to watch it eventually because there was just something about it that was pushing me away. And I don't know if you had the same thing, or if
Yeah, well, similar but different. I was just very apprehensive about watching a Guillermo Del Toro adaptation of Frankenstein because of all the reasons we just discussed. I sort of knew this is where it was going to end up. I just didn't know it was going to be so bad. I thought it would at least have a coherent plot.
yeah.
I think I was
sort of think
interested
that,
by the trailer. I remember being interested by the trailer.
I didn't see the trailer, but I
Yeah.
think that like in my brain, when you say Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein, I'm like, yeah, obviously that's a no-brainer.
I don't think I like Del Toro really.
Well, he's made not a bad movie.
Really?
I think. I mean, if prior to Frankenstein, I don't think there's a movie that he's made that is bad. And I also don't think Frankenstein is bad, but for the purposes of this conversation,
It's probably stuff that I haven't seen that's really good. I quite enjoyed Mimic. I think something happens, right, when fairly mainstream, we'll say American filmmakers engage
American,
with...
but okay.
Huh?
He's not American, but
No,
okay.
but he's in the American studio system. Do you know what I mean? I'm broadly saying, like, not just him. All filmmakers of this ilk have to make something that is either Gothic or English or Anglo, or like I don't know, like European in some way, and they default to this disgusting version of reality. This like aesthetic that is so over the top and ridiculous. Like that's why I loved The Witch, and it's why I love any kind of like period movie that is understated or doesn't decide that the most overwhelming thing that's going to happen in this whole movie is just the constant battering of these ridiculous visuals. There's just some like default gear somewhere in the filmmaker's whatever, like big film machine that you press that's like gross England, and it just turns everything into this ostentatious pageantry, this absolutely ludicrous like fucking... It's like Ruffs. Ruffs were big for a while, weren't they? They're doing that now, but with architecture and set dressing and everything. It's too much, boys.
Well, I think Guillermo del Toro is the reason why those buttons exist, because he does that properly. It's similar to like Tim Burton.
Tim Burton, yeah.
Guillermo del Toro has been working basically from... It's almost like when Tim Burton went to shit, Guillermo del Toro came in and was like, I'm taking over. It's like he passed the baton and Tim Burton shot himself on the racetrack and
Right.
Guillermo carried on going. And I think like the movies that Guillermo made early in his career, like Kronos and The Devil's Backbone, are gorgeous but not super gothic. They're kind of more gothic in ideal
Yeah.
than the Tim Burton-y, like highly stylized stuff. Same with like Mimic and even Blade 2, which I mean I love Blade 2, but like, and it feels like a Guillermo del Toro movie, but not in the same way. That,
I like Blade 2, yeah. I like Blade Trinity. I thought that was really good.
Well, I think that excludes you from the conversation
I
because
thought it was so fun. Ron
like,
Perlman, fucking, what's his name? Happy guy?
Chris Christopherson.
Yeah, of course. Why aren't we talking about Frankenweenie more, speaking of Tim Burton?
Well, so I haven't seen the feature-length Frankenweenie.
All right.
I've only seen the short from like his early career, and because Tim Burton went to Pittle, it's garbage.
Shame. I mean, it's all shit, is the moral of our episode today.
Again, I don't think it's remotely shit. I think there are a bunch of things that are not good. Like my score, I'm giving it 16 out of 22 yanked off jawbones.
Bloody hell. 16 out of 22. Okay. Well, I'm giving it 1 out of 10.
Sure. I don't understand it. I don't understand why you hate it so much.
Style over substance. Nothing good done with great source material.
So you think it's style over substance, but you also hate the style. Is that the vibe?
Yeah. That's what I mean. That's why it's bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because sometimes the style is the substance. Like,
that means it's not style over substance then, surely.
But
that means the style is the substance. It's just a stylistic movie. I'm using it as a pejorative term to talk about a flat, two-dimensional movie that puts more value in presenting itself aesthetically or picking a particular lane that it rigidly adheres to in terms of one thing or another, and then having no real plot, character, value. Like a poser movie. Think about it that way.
Like, sure, but I think that, like, style over substance isn't necessarily a negative to me.
Right.
I think that, like, a movie can be stylish with no substance, and that's sometimes fine.
Yeah. I guess it is sometimes fine, but I think if the substance is the novel Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, that makes it bad.
Like, I sort of think that the 1931 Frankenstein is style over substance.
Don't know.
Again, I don't think that's a negative. Again, if the substance is the 1831 novel, then the 1931 movie, or the 1833 novel, then the 1931 movie doesn't get it right, right?
Well, it doesn't get it right as in it doesn't recreate the book, no, but it gets it right in terms of hitting all the right notes as an emotionally moving, interesting, fairly entertaining, exciting, stylistically beautiful movie. I think it gets that very right.
Yeah. If you're interested in something that hits all the right notes, I would go to redscare.net, where you can buy records and other things from musicians who hit all the right notes.
That is the most disingenuous ad for Red Scare I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
Artists that hit notes would be more appropriate.
Yeah.
Go to Red Scare, spend some money, support struggling punk rock bands.
Yeah.
Because there's no time like the present.
There's no present like time.
That could have been a line from 2025's Frankenstein.
Yeah, it's true.
You're the monster. Dies. I just looked at some stills from The Mimic, and it looks way fucking better than I even remember it, so I might have to revisit it.
Mimic is great.
Yeah.
I think that, like, early doors GDT is banging.
Yeah, this is 97. Holy crap.
Have you seen Kronos? His sort of first vampire movie is fantastic.
I saw it a billion years ago. Again, I just don't think I'm not his audience, unfortunately.
Well, I think that, like, it's a hard sell given how much you hated this for me to be like, you should go back and watch.
You should go back and watch all his films.
But I do think you should do that because a lot of them are incredibly good. I also think that if you like this podcast and want to support it, and if you disagree with Sam, you should go to patreon.com/finaltransmission and sign up and then leave a comment that calls him a dick.
You should.
Because that would be the correct way to troll Sam, is by giving us money.
Yep. And if you agree with Jamie in that you agree with me on every point in the entire podcast, but then say that you strongly disagree at the end, then you can follow us on Instagram at FT Horror Show. You can follow Jamie on Letterboxd at Jamie
FT.
Jamie FT. And you can follow our personal Instagram accounts at Carruthers, at Sam Russo Music. There you go.
And I didn't agree with every single point you had. You agreed with every single point I had and then said, yeah, but it's shit. So there you go.
Yep. There you go.
Anyway, we'll be around next week for another final transmission. Until then, say you're the monster, Sam.
You're the monster, Sam.